Hey guys, Chris from the Ultimate Recycler. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is concerning a heap of boxes of stuff that was dropped off yesterday at the shop. Now, as I was closing up, a guy pulls up and he says, I've got all this stuff, are you interested? So, typical scenario. So this video, we're going to go through the boxes. I don't even know what's in most of them yet. I know kind of because I can see them. And it's going to be a bit of a voyage of discovery, and we'll see how we go with value, and we'll see how the deal works out. I'll show you what I got. So here it is. It's a collection mostly of some vintage electronics and some oil lamps, and there's a few workshop tins and bits and pieces, some fishing gear in the middle, and I think there's some snow skis and a tripod, a bit more shed stuff, electronics, and some more lamps, pressure lamps. And that black box thing I think is a Sanyo reel-to-reel player. I haven't opened it yet. So the story is it was his grandfather's, and he has a bit of an emotional attachment with it, and his grandfather passed away a while back. He lived in Melbourne and was obviously a bit of a collector because no one has that many oil lamps. And the guy sort of cleaned up and took this stuff because it reminded him of his grandfather, and a lot of us have emotional attachments with our grandparents, especially when they pass. But what's been happening is for the last couple of years this has been stored in his shed. He's not doing anything with it. He hasn't got any room for it really, and he realised that it's just going to be destroyed. Once things end up in sheds, you get mice through them and things get broken accidentally, and really what's the point in keeping them if they're just stored away? So he's made the decision to get rid of the stuff. He doesn't know what he wants for it. When he pulled up at the front and I had a quick look in the back of the car, I said, well, like I do with a lot of people, I think it's a good place to start. I said, what sort of dollars are you thinking? And as typical, he replied, I've no idea. Which, can be a bit awkward if you're not used to talking money with people. So I had a quick scan through. I said, look, I don't have time to go through it all at the moment. And obviously with this electronic stuff, especially the vintage hi-fi gear here, it makes a huge difference if it works or not. Excuse me, Coco, she's come to check it out. So there's an amplifier down the bottom. I think it's a Sansui amplifier. There's a tuner, and there's a larger stereo receiver, which is an amplifier there, and a tape deck at the top. That's a Hitachi. There's a vintage Sony radio here. And as I said, I think that's a reel-to-reel. So I'm going to spend a bit of time going through it and seeing what works and what doesn't. I don't really know what's in this box. It looks like some much earlier electronics equipment. Could even be some military stuff in there. So it's going to be a bit of a fun exercise seeing what's in the boxes and working out what value. I didn't offer him a price up front. He's a local guy. I don't know him that well, but I've seen him before, and we've had a bit of a dealing once before. And it's nice that he came back. A lot of those lamps look in pretty good condition. So anyway, I've left it that he's dropped all the boxes off. He's happy for me to spend a bit of time going through and working out a price. I did, at a quick glance, whilst we're at the front, suggest to him that, it's not junk. There's some good bits and pieces in here. Assuming some of it works, it's going to be, quite a bit of value to me. I'd say you'll get at least $300. And I said, if you just wanted a quick sell and take off now, I would pay you $300. Just take a punt. I think I'd do okay out of that. But he wasn't in a rush, and because he lives just down the street, he said, no, you keep it and check it all out, and we'll come up with a price. He didn't seem overly fussed. But of course, most people want to get as much as they can out of things. He does also understand totally that I'm a dealer and I'm going to make a profit. So what we're going to do in this video, without too much more droning along, we'll go through and check out each item, see if it works or not. If it doesn't work, I'll come up with a price for it as is. I'm not going to fix anything up front, but we might get some projects out of it down the track for my workshop and for future videos. A couple of the tins there we'll have a bit of look at, and might have to check eBay for some prices. And I'll make a bit of a list, and if you feel like following along, we'll see how much value we've got in this pile. Believe it or not, for you guys that follow my channel consistently, I've made some space at the back of the shop, and I can access my test bench. It's not as good as the setup I have at home, but I have an amplifier and some wiring and everything, and some speakers, so I can give those things a test. We'll get to them a bit later in the video. Let's get some of the other stuff off the floor here first, And we might start with these lamps. Now, they all look to be early ones, although these burners may be reproduction replacements. So let's go through this box and just see what value we've got in here. We'll have a look through first, and then we'll work out some prices. Now, this is just a silver plate, probably 1920s, maybe 30s. Oh, hang on, look at this. It's a trophy. I have to polish it to read it properly. Let's polish it. There we go. I don't normally polish silver plate, but I'm curious to see what it says. So we've got President's Trophy, SC Thomas, Ladies Singles Handicap. So it's golf, I would say. Won by Mrs. Hancock. I don't know what the initials stand for. Some golf club, I would imagine. And 1939, 1940. So, yeah, 1930s was about right for that. Really cute handles. Look at them. They're like dragons. But even so, it's just silver plate. It's not silver. It will say EPNS somewhere. There's a bit of corrosion. See the green corrosion? That tells me straight away that the base metal has got copper in it. So it's just silver plate. And it says there EPNS, which stands for electroplated nickel silver. So just fairly cheap silver plate. Very popular at the time. Really hard to sell, even though polished up it would look pretty impressive. I think I'll put that in the shop well, we'll value that. I'm just doing a valuation. I think that's only $5. I'm not going to polish the rest of it. Someone else can do it. All right, these lamps, let's get a few of them out. Now, some of them still have oil in them or kerosene or something. There's a bit of a smell to them. That's a 1930s with the Greek key pattern around the top. Depression era. Very, very common lamps. They work very well. This one's still got a wick in it. And it looks like the winder still works. So I usually get around about $75 or so for those, assuming we've got a top. Now I think one of the other tubs actually has, he said, had some glass chimneys. So that one doesn't look damaged. It looks like it would actually work. This one here is a slightly different design, but it's still pressed glass. It would still date to the Depression era. And you can tell because the glass often has sort of stretch marks and bubbles, and it's a bit rough around the seams, so it's just been pressed. Cheap glass was there's even a bubble there which has got a bit of a rough edge on it. So it was very typical of the 20s and into the Depression era. That one again looks in usable condition. The top's not quite as nice. In fact, that little top piece is loose, but that won't matter. So yeah, similar price money. I'll do a list shortly and we'll have a look at what it adds up to. This one I think is the same design. The burner looks very clean. Oh, it's lost one of the arms that hold the chimney, and that one's been bent. Well, that should straighten, but the chimney is not going to stay on with one missing. And I think that's actually a little bit crooked. It looks to be the original burner. Can't quite read what it says on the... I think it says made in England. So these are original. They're not reproductions. The thing to look for, and I did a video on identifying antique lamps. The thing to look for is this collar. These ones are plastered on. So when you see a lamp where the collar screws on like a bottle cap, it's most likely a reproduction lamp. So these are nice original ones. This one looks the same design again. Whoops, we better not break that. So that's the fuel bowl, or known as the font of another lamp. And there's a base there. Maybe they go together. And you can see that collar is plastered on. You can actually see the plaster in there, and the burner then threads into the top. So that's an original piece. The bottom looks a bit dodgy. So we'll see if that'll go with that base in a minute. Let's get this other lamp out. This video is going to go ages if I take this long to unpack boxes, so I might break it down to a few parts. So I might do the lamps first, including the other pressure lamps, and then we'll do the electronics in a separate part. Again, this burner's been squashed, probably because they've been in storage. It's an original burner as well, and the same style of lamp. What do we got here? This one's a bit different. And look at that. That's a screw-on ferrule there. So this is more of a reproduction lamp, probably and the base certainly looks 70s. I won't tip it up or we're going to have, I think it's already dripping. So yeah, that's a 70s lamp. It still will sell, but it's not worth as much as an earlier one. So I'm going to have to wipe my fingers. It smells of kerosene. Let's get this base out now. I think that base, it's a cast iron base. This is probably late Victorian, very early 1900s, and it looks like one of these lamps has been leaking. I better wipe up this before we go any further. Be right back. Okay, I have returned with cleaner fingers. Just looking at this 70s one that we put down before. Can you see the problem with that lamp? Hang on, I'll get my fingers out of the road. So how does the wick suck up the fuel in that shaped bottle? I'm actually thinking that that isn't even a lamp base. It may be some sort of novelty bottle, because that's not practical unless you have a wick that goes the full length right down to the bottom. So yeah, I'm not sure on that one. I mean, it'll still sell, but I don't know that it's original. And this one, I've just had a look at this. The fitting onto the base of the glass font is plastered on, and you can see a bit of plaster. In fact, that may even be glue. But the piece on the bottom isn't supposed to be plastered. And the rest of it, the remainder, is actually in the cast iron base. Now it should screw in, and you can see around the edge there is a little piece of brass. So I think that fitting is actually broken. So I'm going to price it accordingly as it is. But repaired, that's actually quite a nice Victorian oil lamp and worth a lot more than these depression ones. And I'm thinking I'll value it as far as this deal goes, probably not much, maybe $10 or something. But I might take that home and do a future project and just see if we can actually get that fitting out of the base and maybe repair it somehow. Not sure, might be a future video. Let me know if you'd like to see that. Okay, now this one is a bit different. This is a duplex burner or twin oil lamp burner on a really nice base. This isn't Depression era glass, cheap glass. This looks like pretty much crystal. It may be pressed, but it's because I don't think those patterns are hand cut. However, it is a much better quality piece of glass. It's very clear. So that's a nice piece. I don't know if he's got a chimney for that. I'll have to do a bit of research and price on that one. What else we got here? We've got a smaller lamp that's it's a vintage one again. It's probably 30s or maybe even 40s. Pressed glass again. Quite a nice little lamp. The burner looks in good nick. We'll straighten that other arm up. Different size chimney for that one. It's a smaller diameter. Hopefully we've got one. And in this corner we have, we have a burner that's fallen apart. But this one, I'll leave that off for the moment. This one is a finger lamp. For, obvious reasons, you carry it with your finger. It's quite a nice design. I've had these before. This is an earlier one, probably 1920s, I suppose. Very stained. It actually looks amber, but it's clear glass. It's just stained. So the burner looks like it's got a bit of an issue. It looks like it's actually broken off there. But the glass part looks okay, although they often crack around the handles. This one looks all right. Can't see any fractures there. So that will need some repair work again. But a nice little lamp. The finger lamps sell quite well, particularly if you get coloured ones. But as I said, this one's clear. This little lamp here is a very simple little lamp. I don't think it's as old. In fact, it's not as old. See, it's got a screw-on collar again, and it's gone rusty. This is probably a 70s Hong Kong version where they just had a plated burner, and it's actually just tin, and that's why it's rusted. Most of the earlier ones are brass. And I think they've been polished. I don't think they're reproductions, those ones. I think they've just been polished. That one is possibly a cheaper burner that's been put on an older lamp base. Some of these were tin. In fact, that's an older one that has obviously surface rusted, so it must be tin. But this one's a much cheaper. And screw-on collar there, so it's probably made in Hong Kong. Something like that. They did a lot of those in the 70s. What do we got over in this corner? I'm not sure what that is. It's got a cap on it. This is an unusual burner. It's not, I think that might even be a heater, like a Kero heater burner rather than a lamp. Not sure on that one. We'll have to do a bit of checking. Don't think it's much value. And this last one is a really nice looking lamp, but for some reason, I think someone's painted it. There's a bust there. It looks like a Victorian bust. It feels like it's metal. Just got to be careful tipping it up. I don't want to drip fluid anywhere. Looks like it's a cast iron base. Yep. It's a shame it's been painted. I wonder if we can clean that up, because I think it would look much nicer if it was like a gilt. Certainly not a powder blue. That looks terrible. The font looks nice. It's sort of frosted with it's pressed, but it's a nice pattern. The burner looks original, a little bit squashed again, but original burner. I think that one's worth trying to restore, but we'll work out a price for it as it is. And that finishes the first box. Excuse the really vibrant retro green rag that he's put in the bottom. What's this down here? Part of a burner's fallen out. So, okay, that finishes the first box. I'll do a little bit of checking, and we'll have a list of what I think I'm going to pay for these lamps. We might do that next, and then we'll go through the box of pressure lamps over that side. And perhaps because I'm talking a lot, we might leave that as part one. And we might even get 3 parts, because I don't know what's in that box in the middle, and I'm pretty excited to look in there. It looks like some quite old stuff. So we'll get back to these lamps first, and we'll work out what we're going to pay for these lamps. And here's our lamp collection. I did find chimneys for quite a few of them, but not all of them. So I've laid them all out on the bench here. I've made a few notes. Let me run through the prices of what I would sell them for exactly as they are, without putting any effort into fixing things. The trophy here, I said just $5. The 1, 2, 3, 4 depression glass lamps with shades, they do need a bit of work. The one with the broken arm there, I actually found it in the bottom of the box, so I'll see if I can rivet that back on. But what I'd sell those for as they are, it's probably around about $70 each I'd try and get for them. Maybe not quite that, but we've worked on that. This one, it's kind of a 70s, whether it's a lamp base or not, I'm not sure, but we'll sell it as such, probably just $20. The Victorian one at the back, I am going to try and clean that up, but what I'd sell that for as is, and I'm not sure the frosted shade really suits it. Maybe it does, because it's frosted around the font. 95, I'd probably try that one at. This one didn't have a shade. It's a smaller diameter burner on it. Probably just, what did I put on that one? $30 I think. The duplex lamp, bit different, but there was no shade. I'm not sure if it's supposed to sit in a base, because it does rock a bit. So $35 on that. A couple of spare chimneys that don't suit anything I've got here. $10 each there. The little finger lamp, the burner's broken. The winder's there, and it's stained. I think I just wrote down, just scanning through my list, finger lamp, $20 just on that one. I didn't even price that one. It's lucky it wouldn't even make $5. I allowed $20 for this one, but I will probably try and do a repair on that one. But to sell it as is about $20. These that burner I think is out of a Kero heater. Not a lot of value there. And this little thing, I think it's a metho burner for putting under like a fondue set or a spirit kettle or something. So maybe just $5 for that. So at those prices, which I've listed there, it's a retail of just over $500. I will touch on what I'll pay for it at the end of this video. Let's just quickly have a look at the pressure lamps that are down in that box down there, and then we'll wind up this part. Okay, I've lifted these lamps up onto the bench here. Let's go through them. Probably best to get them from this end. Now, I have done a little bit of checking on some of these, because there are rare models of pressure lamps, and some of them bring quite big dollars. But these two with the green tops are both Coleman lamps. I think they're Canadian made. They're not in the best condition. The enamel's quite damaged. The lid's actually loose. They probably wouldn't be in operational condition. I think usually the seals dry out and they don't pump up. Yeah, that one's no good. So they're repairable, but they're not in the best nick. I think they would retail through the shop as they are at around about $60 each. probably have to discount them to 50, but let's see how we go. I'll write down a list of prices again on these just shortly, and I'll show you in a tick, and we'll get a total. The next one here is quite a large, impressive lamp, and this is a Tilly lamp. It's English made. It looks to be in really good condition, this one, although it has got a dent in the chrome tank, and it's not, I think it's nickel plated. It's even got the original preheater here that you fill with metho and you light, and you put it around underneath there to heat the thing when you're trying to get it going. They all would have mantles, which they don't have. Again, this one probably needs a seal kit in it. You know, it might pump up. So that's not a bad lamp, that one. It's certainly in better condition than the Coleman's. So I think we'd probably go about 75 on that one. And the other black top one in here is another nice one in good condition. This is an Australian one. It's an Ostramax. Now there are some of these that are worth really big dollars. This one is the more common model, but I did find one, and I think it was a model 200 that made like $1,800 on eBay. But this is a more common one, and again, it probably needs a little bit of work, but it is complete. It doesn't look damaged. It would probably again need a seal kit. Yeah, there's no pressure there at all. And that's the part that wears out on them. But this one's certainly fixable. I think we'd probably go 75 on this one again, as it is. The rest of this box isn't quite so interesting. There's an Aladdin lamp base here, but missing a lot. The flame spread has been squashed. It's quite rusty. It would have been nickel plated, but it's rather corroded. There's some dents in the base, so it's probably only a $20 piece as it is, maybe just for parts. And speaking of parts, there's some bits here that I'm not even sure what they're off. That one looks like the top of a kerosene heater, and just some aluminium. They're probably only scrap those, so I don't think they suit anything we've got here. Here's another Aladdin. This one's seen a lot of work and a lot of polishing. It looks brass, but it actually was nickel plated. You can just see part of the nickel around there. So it's been polished to 1 inch of its life. There's also some corrosion coming through the brass. It is a model 11. The top isn't too bad. The flame spread has got a little bit of a dent there, but it's probably, you could probably get it going, or it'd sell for parts. Probably a $50 lamp, that one. The last couple of hurricane lamps, or what's known as hurricane lamps. This was a modern made in China one, not very old at all. The fact that it's rusty and looks old doesn't indicate that it is. It's probably only a $10 decorator piece. And the last one is a much nicer and a much older hurricane lamp. I think this one was a German made one. Looks like it says Germany there. Very rusty, but a lovely piece. And again, probably just a decorator item, but it is a much better lamp than the Chinese ones. I'd probably hang that up for, I think, about $30. All right, let's write out a list of these and see what the total adds up to. And there's our list of all the lamps for this deal. The figures I just bounced around for the pressure lamps added up to $360. So $890 would be what I would price them all out at and try to achieve in the shop. At the end of this video series, we'll just mention a little bit on my pricing structure and how I work out what I'm going to offer. But that gives me a base figure to work from, potential retail of $890. So it's surprising how the value of these things adds up, doesn't it? So that completes all the lamps. In the next part of this series, which I'll try and continue straight on, we'll look at the shed stuff just down here, including, there's a little bit of fishing gear and tripod. I don't think there's much value there. I'm quite interested to get into this box, and there's some other things in the other box there that look pretty good. And then in the final episode, we'll look at the electronic stuff up on the bench here behind me, and also there is this reel-to-reel player, I think, and there's another tape recorder, National. I think it's a reel-to-reel as well. So we'll look at all the electronics in the final episode, and then we'll come up with a figure and we'll work out what we're going to offer this guy. He's certainly going to do much better than his 300, but you know, you never know. Sometimes it works the other way. Sometimes I get to go through the stuff and it just doesn't turn out to be as good as what I first thought. and we don't offer as much as what we initially offered. So, but it's nice to be able to go through it, and it's a bit of fun. It's sometimes very surprising, and it's fair to all parties, I think. So thanks for watching. Look out for the next episode where we'll go through this shed stuff and see what treasures lie within. We'll catch you then. Bye for now.